Hello, I'm Mary Reynolds, and I'd like to welcome you today to MAPit, the system that helps people whose plates are too full. I'm going to take you through a little system that I came up with years ago, quite by accident, but out of a great need. I had been married, and for about 10 years of my early teaching, I didn't have children, so I could work late at school, and both my husband and I had the kinds of jobs where he was a football coach, a basketball coach, a track coach, and around year 8 or 9, I became a high school guidance counselor. So, we'd get home around 6 or 7 at night, so we'd just stay at school and work. Then we had a baby, and everything changes. Now, I didn't want to give anything less than I'd already been giving in my work counseling high schoolers, but I did figure out that I needed to work smarter, not harder. I needed to be more efficient, specifically with the paperwork, but more importantly with how I was counseling and working with students. And so as I examined what I had been doing, that pretty much left me tired and exhausted at the end of the day. I started to realize that as a counselor, I kind of took my job as the fixer. And I started looking at that and contemplating, is there something I'm doing here that I could do differently? So going back to my own childhood, which I often do when I need a new solution, I go back and I think back, well, what did I need? What do these students really need? And I just needed to be heard. I wasn't going to do what my parents told me to do anyway, so I just needed to be heard and validated. I already kind of knew what to do always growing up. I just did. But I decided that as a counselor, I would try to ask more questions and do less fixing, do less telling. Now, I want to just say that before I became a counselor, I was a teacher, so I was at the front of the room. And so I was a talking head. So yeah, I'm teaching and telling all of that all day long. When I shifted over into becoming a counselor, it was a gradual process to kind of give that up a little bit and start inviting my students, the counselees that I was working into the solution. So the coolest thing happened out of this, because I wanted to get home at 4 and leave the school just like everybody else. And so I started asking more questions. And what happened was the students, like me, when I was a kid, had the answers already. They knew what they wanted. And so little by little, through asking what questions, getting them to talk about their hurt feelings, and then pointing them in a new direction. How do you want it to be? How would you prefer it to be? What direction are we going to go? That we would wrap things up in record time. Amazing. So one day I'm sitting in my office, and I'd been working with the teacher, the parents, and the student. And it had been a big thing. It was just came in, it was an ugly experience, and everybody was hot. And on that day, I kind of worked my new plan. It was, I walked them through step by step. And at the end of that, we were done. Everybody was happy. They had a plan. They walked out the door. And in that moment, I realized I had a system that over that first year of my child's, first year of life, I had come up with a very thorough, comprehensive system that worked in a variety of situations. So that's when I first knew I had this MAPit system. Now, I didn't call it MAPit to begin with. In fact, as I evolved, and then when I started teaching this system at Portland State University as a continuing education classes, I just called it a 3-step dance. I hadn't really put it into this MAPit system yet. A 3-step dance, which I've added just a couple extra steps to. And I'll tell you what, here's the little secret. You make it through the first 3, you're kind of home free. It doesn't take that long. There's steps within the steps, but it's something you can commit to memory. It's something that you can remember. It's not going to be pages and pages of phrases and tips that you're going to not remember in the heat of the moment. And this is why, for the person who doesn't have time to embark on a long, extensive, collegiate type training, you're going to be surprised. And I've used this for 40 years.